when the stress comes from the work and not the people, it just makes it a lot more manageable. That issue and the problem isn't the person right in front of you. It's like, we're actually on the same side. The issue, the problem is X. Let's just join our forces and solve that.
Welcome to the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast, where we uncover the stories behind successful machine shops and their owners. By interviewing current and former shop owners, we dig deep to unveil their secrets of success and the struggles and challenges they've overcome on their paths to building thriving shops. We aim to elevate how important the machining industry is and inspire others by highlighting why owning a shop can be a great vehicle to creating jobs, stimulating the economy, and creating wealth. Here's our host, former machine shop owner himself, Paul Van Meter.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Machine Shop Mastery. I just got to sit down with Nubia Perez from Gretna Machine Shop in Houston, Texas. And boy, did I enjoy this conversation. The story with Nubia is similar to many shops. Second generation, parents started the business. She did not want to join the business when she was a young person, went into another career, really wanted to do anything but work in the machine shop, probably because her parents wanted her to so badly, she and her sister, Nancy. But as her father started to become ill, probably from the stress of running a shop for so many years, she decided, after a lot of soul searching, to come into the business and work in the family business. And unfortunately, the transition between her and her father was only a few months before he passed away. So this is a real journey over the last 15 or so years. She talks about the dark years of the 10 years after she came into the business, and really didn't realize that the business needed a true leader, a visionary, someone to inspire the team, to set the vision, and so rather than doing administrative things for all those years, or that's kind of what she focused on, she realized some number of years ago she really needed to become that CEO, that real leader, and to hear that transformation and the story. We talked about imposter syndrome and lean, and really embracing being a CEO from where she comes from, what she, what sort of a CEO of her own. I guess it's the best way to say it. I think it's a great story, a great conversation about just leaning into your strengths and what makes you unique and special. And I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know you will as well. So let's get into it with Nubia. Good afternoon, Nubia. Good to have you here on the podcast.
Hi, Paul. I'm very excited to be here finally. So it's good to be here. Yes,
it took a little bit of scheduling. You are very busy. I am very busy, but we are finally here. So let's start with giving the audience a bit of a snapshot of what Gretna looks like today, and then let's go back and talk about the history.
All right. So Gretna Machine Shop, we're a manufacturing shop here in Houston, Texas. We were established in 1980. It is 100% women-owned. So my mom, my sister, and I are owners. Awesome. And I'll talk about a little bit of the history of how that came to be. But we are a precision machine shop, so we manufacture mostly metal components. Our three main industries are oil and gas, aerospace, and defense.
Okay. All good industries to serve.
Yeah.
They ebb and flow at different cycles, I think, hopefully most of the time.
Exactly. And that was a journey even to get that diversified, which I'm sure we'll kind of dig into what that journey was like.
For sure. That is on the list. All right. So let's go back to 1980 and talk about the origins.
So it all started in the late 60s during the Vietnam War. The U.S. was giving work visas and really opening their doors to laborers, welders, machinists. And my dad was in his early 20s. My parents are originally from Medellin, Colombia. And so he came over, and with a suitcase and about a couple of dollars in his pocket. And the one friend he had was in New Orleans. So he ended up landing in New Orleans, and legend has it that he couldn't find his friend's apartments that first night. He stayed somewhere in that neighborhood on the street because he didn't speak a lot of English at the time. But finally, he saw his friend the next day. And eventually, he worked for the Avondale shipyard as a machinist, and then eventually got a job at Baker Oil Tools as an inspector and as a machinist there. By this point, he had already gone back, married my mom, and then the two of them settled in New Orleans and actually in Gretna, Louisiana, which is you cross the Mississippi River, and on the West Bank is Gretna, Louisiana. And that's where my sister and I were born. So that's why the company is called Gretna Machine Shop, because my dad used to say, oh, well, let's go to Gretna. It'd be really fun to go to Gretna. And he had a little bit of a sense of humor. So like, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the machine shop. We're talking about New Orleans. So they lived there for about 13, 14 years. And then in 1980, Baker Oil Tools here in Houston asked my dad to come to Houston to go work here. And he said, well, how about this? I'll move to Houston, but I'll open up my machine shop and you just send me work and I'll machine your parts. And that's essentially how Gretna started.
Okay.
So we started in a small little garage. And those first couple of months, he slept in the garage and machined parts in the back. And he had asked my mom if she would just come and start answering the phones. And that's how she got involved. And I have very vivid memories of me as a small kid. But my mom says that she would be answering the phones, doing whatever she needed to do in the front office with a pack and play with me, about a year and a half old. And so I literally grew up, in the shop. My sister and I both did. And from 1980 for most to about 2014, oil and gas, 100% oil and gas here in Houston. My parents together were able to sustain the ups and downs of the oil and gas industry. And together they worked well enough to keep the company going for all those years. So that's how Gretna started. And
so it sounds like maybe 2014 was some kind of inflection point.
So in 2012, actually the end of 2011, my dad started getting kind of sick with some heart issues, which I'll talk about how that has influenced our culture in some ways. And I was working at the time for a company called Gazprom Marketing and Trading. So my dream was not to work at the machine shop. My dream was to travel internationally. I was in the environmental commodity space, carbon credits. So I was working for a company that Gazprom Marketing Trading here in Houston, but their offices were based out of London. And I was originating carbon credits from renewable energy projects throughout Latin America. Completely different. Long story short, I was traveling and I was living my best life. So I was in a totally different trajectory, and I was okay with that. But towards the end of 2011, the carbon market began to soften a little bit, and my dad started getting a little sick. By this point, he had already had 2 valve replacements and a pacemaker put in. And through it's kind of a funny story, through a lot of soul searching and I call divine intervention, I finally made the decision to come work in the family business. Again, it was not my intent. The story is I was looking for anything but to come work at Gretna. I was looking at any other industry to be a part of. I even looked at pharmaceutical sales. I was looking at anything. And we're raised Catholic, so I went to Mass that weekend. And there was a visiting priest, and the priest had talked about his journey and his calling to become a priest. And he tried to negotiate with God and said, hey, how about this? I get 5 kids, 5 sons, and I have them all be priests, but just kind of let me do what I want to do, but I don't want to be a priest. So I try to negotiate the same thing. I said, well, how about I have 4 kids and they all work at Gretna and I can just do my thing. Okay. Didn't work that way. Unfortunately, you really can't negotiate that way with God. So I said, all right, I see it, I feel it, so I'm going to do this. So I met with my parents and I told them that I would join. However, I did not want to be, the entitled kid who thinks that just because you're the owner's kid, the owner's kid, that you can come run a shop.
Absolutely.
So I knew I either needed to learn how to be a machinist or learn something about business. So I went the business route, and I said, I'll go and get my MBA, and I'll come work at Gretna for 2 years, and then just make sure it's all okay. And then I'll go off and do my own thing again. And that was in 2012, and I'm still here. So I officially
Okay.
started Gretna May 1st, 2012. Started my MBA program in August 2012, and then my father passed away in October of 2012. So
Oh, wow.
it was
Pretty fast.
it was quick. It was quick. So looking back, and as I see other shops and talk to other shops by that second generation, I didn't have the chance to really walk alongside him and show me the way, show us the way, because my sister's still very much involved in the company still. So there's the learning curve probably has been longer than maybe in other shops, just because I didn't have my dad there really teaching me a lot of the operational side. Fortunately, my mom is still alive, and she has definitely been very influential in the financial accounting, negotiation, and how to negotiate for machines, things like that. But on an operational level, it's been quite the learning curve.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Well, that's life never goes as we expect, does it?
No, but I will say, despite my fighting it, I couldn't be happier, and I know I'm exactly where I need to be, which is really exciting.
That's beautiful.
Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA, and we got to tour SMW Autoblok, 2 different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World-class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop, and the ideas they have to like breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig workflow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0-point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So how do people find SMW Autoblok to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah, get rid of that C. SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Was there any expectation when you were a kid that your parents wanted you to join the business and would kind of nag you?
And honestly, I think that's why I fought it so much.
Right.
I mean, my parents, loving relationship. They were married for 40-something years, but it's still hard. And we were talking about Gretna all the time. And my dad was saying, you girls don't even know how many machines you have. Well, you girls don't even know what you have. And so it was a lot of that. And, the Catholic guilt. So it was heavy. So I think you fight that. And, one day this will be yours. And when you're young and you just want to do something different. And so the underlying expectation was there. It was either that or to marry a machinist. So any boyfriend I ever had, my dad didn't ask me where he's from or what religion he is, he was first. So is he a machinist? Is he a machinist? I did not marry a machinist, but maybe my son will be a machinist or my daughter, who knows? So, but that was always his first question of that. I just remembered that he would always ask.
That is funny. Well, clearly he was passionate about the industry. We can tell that about him. He's
just loved, and I have images of his, the machinist hands are very strong, especially manual machinists. And I used to call them like gorilla hands, just very strong and tough. And he could make anything and build anything and fix anything. And that's beautiful. And I've grown to really respect the industry and respect all of those who work in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love to dwell there for a moment and maybe walk us through the evolution of you learning to love it and knowing you're exactly in the right spot.
Good. It's been a lot of it. How have I learned to love it? I would say it was beyond multiple levels. One of our values is to love it, actually. And we say you have to love manufacturing, love working here. You don't always have to like it. You don't always like any relationship, but you do have to love it. And I think a couple of your guests have mentioned it. I definitely have said it with others in our industry. There's a certain smell to a machine shop that we all know, especially when you grow up with it. And it's comforting. It's weird. It's comforting, but I just get brought back. I just brought back to being 5 or 6 years old and handing out checks to the machinist, or seeing my dad come home, giving him a hug, and his shirt would smell a certain way. So that evolution of loving it is just because it's comforting to me. I attribute that to maybe those who parents are doctors and they walk into a hospital and they're very comfortable with nurses and doctors. I can't be in that environment. I get very uncomfortable because it's not what I'm used to. Put me in any shop, in any industrial setting, I feel like I'm at home. So there's that aspect of it. But then also as a leader, and I hear the stories of our employees, and knowing that Gretna can be a conduit of success in their lives and who can help them achieve whatever dreams they have, that's where I've learned to love it, is this industry. And I want success to be almost a byproduct or a result of just doing the right thing, of really creating an environment for our employees where they can be successful. And in that, so we've had in the 45 years of our business, machinists come here, work here, and then open up their own shop afterwards. And in the past, I remember my parents say, "Oh, I can't believe they did that, and now they're competing with us." And that was a common sentiment. And I still think for some place it is. For me, I see it as it's not only are we creating opportunities with our own employees, but now those shops are creating opportunities for those employees, and it just continues to grow and grow. So if Gretna is a blimp on a family or a person to be able to be successful in his or her life, then I feel like that's a great thing. So that's how I've learned to love it. It's not only the industry itself, but just the fact that we're creating opportunities for other people.
That's a beautiful sentiment. And I agree that order of caring about the people and then the people help build the business is the right, that's the right priority. And we've had a few guests that, very much believe that and are very anchored in that. And that's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So,
and I think also there's this, I think I've said this with a couple of people, is there's an element of those of us in the machine shop world of complaining. It's like we're bragging, but we're also complaining but really, oh my God, this stress, but we secretly love it. Like the adrenaline of it, when there's so many things that have to work together in the material, the outside processing, the machinist has to actually show up, and all the things. And when we actually deliver to our customer what exactly what they're looking for because of this major project, there is an adrenaline rush to that we complain about it, but we know that we all secretly really love it.
All right. So we know you're a type A personality.
I am.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. So when your father passed, did you sort of take over as president, CEO immediately?
No.
Or
no?
Tell us about that transition.
Not at all. So passed away in 2012, and then in comes what I call the dark years. So 2012 to 2022. And because Gretna had been successful, at least in our eyes as a kid, for 30-something years, we being my sister and I, my family, we just assumed it was just going to continue. Like, Gretna will be fine. It's always been fine. Why wouldn't it be fine? So we just assumed things would just keep going. My role during those times were more what I would call bigger picture behind the scenes. So before my dad passed away, we were in 4 different buildings, all equaling 22,000 square feet. So we had 2 tool rooms, we had forklifts crossing streets. It was not the ideal situation for further growth and expansion. So we moved to the current building that we're in. It's 57,000 square foot building. So I was leading those efforts of moving here. But again, not as a CEO, not as a president, just as quote unquote vice president and one of the owners. And that's part of what I did. During this time, I also, when you get your MBA, one of the first things, you don't need your MBA to learn this, but diversifying is key. So we were 100% oil and gas at this point. So I knew I had to look for another industry for us to be a part of. So I went to our OEMs, to the guys who sell our machines, and I said, hey, what other industries do you sell these same machines to? So I learned more and more about the aerospace industry, and that seemed at the time to make the most sense for us because of our proximity to NASA, because of we are the space city. So in my mind, it made sense. So we started getting more into aerospace, and that's when we became AS 9100. So for over 10 years, we've been AS 9100. So I led those efforts as I put on my quality management hat, QA hat, and led those efforts. So as I mentioned, reviewing the handbook and getting us our ERP system. So we switched from Excel spreadsheets to E2, which is E2 Job Boss Squared now, Job Boss Squared. So that's the software we still use. So that was a lot of what I was doing within those time. What wasn't happening was very clear leadership and direction and a vision of where we wanted to go. So as a culture, it was not very positive. We peaked. 2019 was one of our best years from a revenue standpoint. However, we doubled in size in people, but it was a bit chaotic. There was no accountability. There was people running around. There wasn't a lot of systems in place or uniformity in how we did things. So that was a lot of those problems that were existing that I didn't know at the time. COVID happened 2020, and COVID exposed the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in businesses and in relationships and everything. So we went from 80 something employees down to 23, 24 employees. Wow. And it really got us down to the core. And some things were starting to bubble up as a company that needed to be addressed. During this time, though, I got married, I had my children, my sister had her kids, so we had other life stuff going on. And then finally, towards the end of 2022 is when it became very apparent that there needed to be someone who finally took the reins of the company. And in a true, very vocal, like, this is the person who's going to take the reins. And that's when I stepped in December 2022, but I made it official. And I remember the date because my parents' anniversary, January 6th, 2023, is when I officially gave this big speech. And I said, all right, I'm now taking the reins of the company. Again, not really knowing what that was. Some major imposter syndrome was going on. The asterisk, the bubble in my head was, I don't really know what that means, but all I know is that I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So I spent the next couple of months sitting on the shop floor and really understanding our operations, our processes, not so much from a back office, but more on the shop floor of truly understanding what it is that we do. And that's when I just really had an opportunity to really understand the business a bit more.
Wow, what a story. Holy cow. So for those 10 years, sounds like you were doing management things and administrative things, but you weren't the heart, the leader, the visionary.
No, not at all.
But to step into that and have that imposter syndrome, I know that's real. I mean, I have it still. I have it. Everyone has it.
Half the days that I'm just one of the best advice that someone gave me. You just kind of fake it till you make it and hope all goes well sometimes. So, well,
based on what I can see from the outside, you're doing an exceptional job. So,
well, thank you. It's definitely, there's been some major pillars and moments, pivotal moments. I would say one of those moments was 2023. I joined Vistage, which helped tremendously. And it was actually my coach who first called me CEO. And it was my sister and I were in the room, and she says, which one of you is a CEO? And I said, my sister was like, well, you should do it. I was like, okay. some CEO.
Or was it
That's basically the
I was going to
conversation.
ask.
That was
I was going to
joke
ask.
because people are like, "Wow, congratulations, you're CEO." I'm like, it really wasn't like there was like 20 people vouching for this for this role, and that's how it was. And she pushed me. She's like, "You need to change your LinkedIn." I was like, "I don't want to change my LinkedIn." Or like, "Your signature still says vice. You need to change your signature." So it took me at least 2 or 3 months to even change my signature and to really even say it. I was like, when you have a kid, it's weird to say you're a father or a mother, or when you get married, this is my wife, this is my husband. So it was just hard for me to even say the words because I wasn't filling in. And then finally she just said, again, the imposter syndrome, you fake it till you make it. And so that was one pivotal moment, was joining Vistage. And then secondary to that was through Vistage, I learned about EOS. So we do run on EOS. We've been running on EOS for 2.5 years. And that is what really allowed us to define our vision and really create that framework where we are holding the different departments accountable, holding each other accountable, and getting that traction that's needed to hopefully get to where we want to be. So those two things, instrumental in this in the last couple of years.
Getting that traction, no pun intended.
Yes, yeah, exactly, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, good for you for stepping up. And what you said was, when you first did that, you just went on the shop floor and you watched and you observed and you listened and you learned. And what a wise way to do it, right? Some people would just come in, I'm in charge now, but I guess I don't feel like that's your style.
No. Sometimes I don't necessarily lead by consensus. So sometimes you do just have to make a decision, and they say no decision isn't a decision in and of itself. So I don't get it right oftentimes, but at least there's progress in some direction or the other. So so I just try to get as much of the facts as possible before making any major decision, and just I try to give myself the grace, so that gives me the opportunity to give others grace, and hopefully my team members a grace, that sometimes we're going to get it wrong and you're not going to get it right. God knows I have not gotten it right every time. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Not getting it right and learning from it and getting back up and doing it again. That is the hallmark of a great leader. So you mentioned earlier that your dad's health was instrumental in your culture some way. Can you elaborate on what that meant?
Yeah. So we like to say that we are leaders in mindful manufacturing. And our definition of mindful manufacturing is being very intentional in every aspect, from our customers to our employees, to basing our decisions on our values. So really looking at the full picture before we make hopefully any decision. And that includes with our employees themselves. So my dad died at 69. And as a family, we have absolutely no doubt that it was the stress and his inability to, maybe he didn't have the tools to manage that stress. So I have very vivid memories of him, going to my recitals and him falling asleep in the churches of exhaustion, or we didn't take vacations because the shop had it. So who's going to run the shop? Or when we would go, he would constantly be on the phone calling to make sure everything was okay. And I know he did it for the love of the company, and he did it with the intention of leaving a positive future for my family. But there was no conversation of mental health. There was no conversation of wellness. And it was a generation, not to knock it, but it was a generation where I remember my parents talking to employees and saying, look, your problems, you leave them at home. If you have problems at home, don't bring them to the shop. When you're here, you're here to work, and you leave your problems when you walk. That's impossible. That is impossible. And we try to bring in our conversations more empathy, more, put yourself in perspective of this individual's shoes. So that's how it has shaped our culture, is because we know firsthand, if you don't find that balance of putting it on perspective. And I talk about this in my LinkedIn of taking deep breaths and understanding that there's always a solution. It may not be the solution you like. It may not be the most popular solution. It may not be the cheapest solution, but there's always a solution. If you go in with that mindset, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And it could be having a very difficult conversation with a customer, with a vendor, with an employee. But that needs to happen instead of just kind of bottling that in. So that's where my dad's health really and I don't think I realized that till very recently. But when you look at our employees and even the buyers as a customer is, let's put ourselves in their shoes of they're getting breathed down the neck by their bosses. So if we nonchalantly say, yeah, we're going to be late, you're probably, there's ramifications to that. So that's kind of how it's shaped.
That is so good. That was a masterclass. What is up, Metalworking Nation, Making Chips family? It is an even year, which means IMTS is coming. September 14th through 19th at McCormick Place in beautiful Chicago. It is the largest manufacturing trade show in North America, bringing together thousands of manufacturers, OEMs, and solution providers every 2 years to explore how new technologies are being applied to real shop floors. So whether you're planning future capital investments, benchmarking operations, or simply trying to cut through the noise around emerging technologies, IMTS is designed to help manufacturers make better, more informed decisions. Whether you've been going for years or this might be your first time, put it on your calendar right now. Schedule your time away from the shop. It's good to get out and see new things. It's going to be a big party. I hope to see you there. Go to imts.com and register today. When did you really start to focus on the values, mission, vision aspect? Did you learn that in Vistage?
Through EOS.
Was it through EOS?
Through EOS.
Okay.
And I love how, at least our coach does it. I'm assuming this is how all the coaches do it, but culture and values already exist in a company. So what people often, then we did this after my dad died. So we're like, what are the values? I will never forget, my mom, my sister, and I were all on sitting in a bed, like, what do you think our values should be? Well, integrity. No. Yeah. That's a good one. Let's pick integrity. Or teamwork. Yes. Let's do teamwork. We had to put safety, of course. So we were just picking buzzwords and say, okay, these are our values.
Sure.
The way EOS, at least our coach taught us, is look at the top employees in your company and how would you describe those employees? How would you describe them? So it was through that exercise, and you put on a whiteboard and you start process elimination and then wordsmithing it. So that's how we came up with our values, but it's not as if we made them up on the fly. It was, let's look at the values of how the company was founded. Let's look at, as a leader, what can I quote unquote sell, but that's authentic to me, because that's what people want to see is authenticity. And it was a combination of all those things and really defining our brand and defining, more importantly, what our culture is. But it wasn't making it up. It was just kind of extrapolating it from that it was already there. So it was through EOS, really, how it was.
Yeah, I hadn't actually heard that exercise of taking the attributes of your best employees. What a great way to do it. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's way more authentic than just a bunch of flashy buzzwords.
Right. And our values, we hire, we fire, we promote. When we have to make a decision as to a certain employees, do they love the industry? Are they finding ways to be lean? Are they growing gray matter? Are they being helpful? Are they raising the bar? And if it's yes, well, clearly this is the right person. It's like, sometimes no. It's like, well, this person isn't a right fit for us, and let's give them the opportunity to be successful somewhere else. That's how I see it.
Successful somewhere else, yes. There's been such a theme on this podcast over now 100 episodes, and I don't think if I could find the first version of the questions I ask, I don't think values was necessarily on the list, but it just shows up time and time again of, the highest performing businesses all just think values are so critical and lean into it and make decisions by it and hire and fire. And so, yeah, I appreciate you reinforcing that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts of things. You talked about diversification, and I love the idea of talking to the machine tool vendors. Where else are you selling these machines? How did you then get your foot in the door and start broaching those markets and get into aerospace and defense?
So with aerospace, it was again, I believe it was in 2016, so almost 10 years that we became AS91 100. And it was during one of the downturns of oil and gas, and it just worked out that we had all the time in the world to go and create a quality management system and to train on that. So it just worked out for us that I could spend 2 or 3 hours painstakingly going through this process of revamping. We were ISO certified already, so that helped make that transition. But we did hire a consultant to help us navigate through that process. So that was the first thing we did. We became AS91 100. And I remember we went to our first space conference to look for customers. I think it was called SpaceCom here in Houston. I can't remember. And my sister and I went, and obviously we didn't have aerospace parts to take. So we just took oil and gas parts and big clunky stainless steel parts. So I remember aerospace, some of the customers like, this is really heavy. And we said, well, this is just to show our capabilities. But little by little, I was going through these conferences that finally a customer kind of took a leap of faith and gave us that first opportunity. And we did not have a 5-axis mill at that time. So we eventually got, a 3+2. So a machine that if this whole aerospace thing doesn't work, we can always use it for oil and gas, which at the time we didn't need it. A 5-axis mill to do oil and gas for the oil and gas parts that we were doing. And little by little, we realized that, oh, wait, what is this thing called the CMM we have to do? I guess we have to get the CMM. So then we got the CMM, and then it became, so we need to find machinists, though, who can, it's fine. Let's just get our oil and gas machinists to start running aerospace parts. Not quite so we had to go through that learning curve. And in Houston, at the time, 10 years ago, it wasn't brimming with aerospace machinists in Houston. So it still isn't. It's still a challenge. But we just finally invested the time in teaching our top oil and gas machinists to eventually run aerospace parts. And now all our guys can do both. So that's for the most part, because we are right now at any given time 50% oil and gas, 50% aerospace. So we're both.
That's nice. So that it was a trade show where you made that first connection.
It was I was at a trade show. Yes.
Okay. And then did you just double down on that and continue to grow with trade shows or other?
It was trade shows mostly. What else did we do? To be honest, I was not leading the sales efforts at the time. So because we didn't have a sales process, but I do know initially it was through that first trade show that we got our first aerospace customer.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, that is, I know I hear people debating whether those are worthwhile or not, but I've heard time and time again that that's a great place to create a connection, and you need to follow up on it. It's not like it's going to happen the next day. You're not getting POs the day after a trade show, very likely, but it's the beginning of that relationship that you foster.
Yeah. One of the best sales advice that I got years ago was, you go to these trade shows, they give you all these business cards, but it's like a ripe banana. It's only good for about 3 days. And then you have to follow up and not just stash all these business cards in your drawer and say, okay, one day I'll follow up with all these people. So that follow up is key as well.
Mm-hmm. That is good advice right there. So this idea of training your machinists to be 5-axis, were you just sort of in it together, figuring it out as you went, or who was doing the teaching?
So it was mostly, we looked to hire some top programmers. Again, it was a learning curve. Yeah, so it was mostly them teaching the other machinist. But I will say some of it was just gradually with time. And then the machinists themselves learning on their own, them getting on YouTube, watching tons of CNC, which we encourage. Sure. So it was some of it from the machinists themselves, some of bringing vendors in and helping them on the shop floor, on the tooling side. But it's also a sales function. So now we know, and I call it, we can't stuff the sausage. That's what I call it. We can't just bring in all this work and hand it to our ops team and our shop floor, be like, I don't know, you guys figure out. I brought in the deal. You guys figure it out. So really building our sales efforts to the capacity and to our capabilities at the current time, and having those honest conversations with the customer of, I know you want us to do this. Our intent is to get to this point get to this level at some point. But for now, the reality is this is where we're at. So that has been instrumental in our trust with our customer, but also it's kind of having that identity realization of, like, we here in Houston, we all want to be that top, 5-axis aerospace, whatever, tech, all that, but it's going to take time. And we've learned from the hard way that if you take on more than you're capable, either from a capacity or a capability, it's going to come back, and it's hard to recover from that. So it was a very slow, it's been a decade, a very slow process of building up our technical capabilities, but it's also mirroring that on our sales side so that we bring in work that matches our technical capabilities.
I love that thoughtful approach. That is very important. And we're actually going to be recording a final episode of the Making Chips Machine Shop MBA series that we did in collaboration with Modern Machine Shop Magazine and the Top Shops Conference. And one of the things that Brent Donaldson, the editor there, really just sort of has teased out is that the top performing shops are not just a collection of machines and people, but it is really a system that's all linked together, that all relies on the next part down the chain, and having a continuous improvement cycle built into all of it is just so foundational and really differentiates the shops that perform. And what you just described there is exactly that, right? Your sales effort, your quoting effort has to match the manufacturing capabilities, and it's a two-way street, right? You're talking back and forth about, all right, we're looking at this, here's what we can do, let's make sure it's right sized. And then, like you said, strive to achieve more in the future, but it's going to be a journey to get there. And I can't think of a more natural, organic way to make sure the whole system is working well as you also grow your capability and not spread yourself too thin and over leverage and ruin relationships with customers because the industry is rife with that. People that over promise and under deliver, right?
Yes, it's true. It's true that I call it, we use it, the feedback loop. So always getting that feedback, not just from the customer saying you're doing a great job and more than supplier metrics, but when a part gets scrapped, always you do a non-conformance, you do a deep dive, you do the 5 whys to figure out what happened. But I do think it's equally important for those wins. It's like, hey, we nailed it. Like, what did we do well? So we can keep doing that. That was great. Oh, we had great communication. We gave the programmers ample time to really think about the manufacturing plan, whatever that is working, so we can continue doing that. So that feedback loop, not just inherently, because if you're AS 9100, you have to do non-conformances and root cause analysis, but it's also the wins as well is really important. And it kind of just gives the team just more confidence to just keep going because you're winning at that point.
So do you guys have a strong lean sort of continuous improvement culture there as well? It's
there to the lean and continuous improvement for me is, you can go it's like a wine. I don't collect wines, but you can go as deep and as you want. Is it to the level that I want? No, but that's just how I am. But I'm obsessed with operational waste. They ate operational waste. So I try to always bring that back when we're trying to find a solution of, well, for example, there's a bottleneck. I know what we need to do. Let's hire 5 more people. It's like, do we really need to hire 5 more people? Or is it just, do we need to cut some of the redundancy or the over processing that's happening to get to that point? So that's where it's embedded in, and I'm as the leader, I'm trying to have that be almost a knee-jerk reaction for everyone while we're identifying, discussing solutions. Is the solution isn't always, quote unquote, just hiring another person. It's also just finding ways. Are there some operational waste along the way that's contributed to this? So we don't have it a formalized. I don't have regular Kaizen events or anything like that. But because of we run on EOS and because of our weekly scorecards, if we see a trend of in the opposite direction that we want, then we try to have that discipline of opening up either an internal corrective action or having a discussion of saying, how can we let's make some changes here if needed. It could be maybe it was just, hey, it's Christmas break, so obviously production's going to go down because half the shop is out of town. So having that awareness on a weekly basis, then making those continuous improvement changes along the way. So it's and then just personally, I'm obsessed with operational waste and finding waste. I just love it.
Do you have posters around with the 8 waste?
I have a poster. I think I even did like a video on it, writing about it. I try to bring it up as much. And operational waste isn't just on the shop floor. Obviously, it's in accounting. Sure it's in the offices. You know, and I've said this oftentimes. It's very exciting and it's very sexy to see. Oh, if we get this tool, we use this in mill, we're going to cut down from 20 minutes to 5 minutes. I'm like, how about we focus on the fact that the material was here for 5 days before it even got on the machine? So it's important to cut down that waste from a production standpoint, from a machining standpoint. But then let's talk about why was this material even sitting here before it even got to the machine? So just having that awareness, I just try to bring it up as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Can you elaborate a little more on your weekly scorecards? That's part of the EOS system. How does it work? How do you drive changes and behaviors and improvements using those?
So we have through EOS, we have our level 10 meetings. As you may know, they call it level 10 because most meetings suck. So when you ask someone from a 1 to 10, how great was it? And ideally, there'd always be a 10. So they're called level 10 meetings. And each department has a level 10 meeting. So our sales department has one, our operations department and our quality department and our support functions back office. And then the leadership team has one. So same time, same week, same agenda. And part of the agenda is to review the metrics for that department. So the sales team could be, see how many purchase orders, and did we meet that target on a weekly basis? Quality is how many non-conformances. What's our internal quality and our outside customer quality, and on the leadership level is we have our own metrics from a financial standpoint we try to meet. So that's how it's all broken up. It's very specific to the department, and then the key ones for each department are elevated at the leadership team level, and everyone who has the department is obviously part of the leadership team. So it gives an opportunity. We give each other the space to have those conversations, but it eliminates the, hey, Paul, real quick, I have a great idea. Let's do this and this and this. So while you're in the middle of doing your job. So it's one of those, let's wait to the L10. It's important, but it's not urgent enough for me to interrupt your concentration on this great idea that I may have or not have. But it's almost like a depository of these are issues that can wait until that time. And we dedicate that time to identify, discuss, and solve whatever those issues are. So our metrics are every week, and there's metrics, they're quantifiable. They're not feelings. It's actually something someone goes and looks or pulls. And then each person is in charge of writing his or her own metric, and they're responsible for that. Not necessarily to solve it, but to at least know where it's coming from.
Okay. So give us an example, if you will. Let's say you have a metric in quality or on the shop floor that's not trending in the right direction. And I imagine you compare it week over week. Is that part of looking at the trend data?
Yeah.
And then what might a troubleshooting session look like, and how will you then implement the improvement?
So through EOS, they teach you you IDS it, which is basically 5 whys or root cause analysis. So if it's trending in the wrong direction, if it's customer quality, our score, we're not meeting our targets, then let's identify the true issue. You identify the issue as we're not meeting our quality requirements. So let's discuss it. Oh, it's because it was this one part that was really difficult, or it's because this customer gave us the wrong drawings, or it was because the one machinist we had actually had to go home, whatever the root cause was. And we discussed that. The key is to not stay discussing, because a lot of people just live in that world and then like, all right, great meeting. Yeah. And that's why most meetings suck, because, wow, I just spent 45 minutes of my life discussing something, but nothing was solved. So the solving part then becomes, what are some actionable items that are going to come from this? And it could be as simple as the to-dos that come from that. The rule has to be done in the next 7 days. So if the rule is, well, the solution is we just need to hire another QC inspector. You're not going to solve that in 7 days. So then it just becomes the solve is that I am going to get the job description very specific in the next 7 days. All right, perfect. The next week can be, I'm going to hand this to the HR department so she can post it on Indeed. Got it. And then you break it down in bite-sized pieces, because if you have, well, the answer is, we all agree, is to hire another QC inspector. Then the next week is like, how's that going? I don't know. You didn't tell the person, you didn't tell HR we needed someone. Right. And then just where it kind of falls apart. So that's where you take the big solve into very manageable bite sizes.
Hey, everybody. What do you think of when I say OTD? Well, in making chips, we've got lots of acronyms to deal with, but OTD is on-time delivery. On-time delivery is part of Hill's mission: deliver quality parts on time, every time. When I was shopping for an ERP system, I was looking for something that would ensure that we do that on a regular basis. Delivering jobs on time was something we struggled with, and I know that most shops struggle with. I think I saw recently that 70% of shops struggle with delivering parts on time. So the best decision I made in that, enter ProShop. Did you know that many of ProShop's customers quickly experience 95% or better on-time delivery rates with their customers? And now ProShop has a guide to help all shops, whether you're using ProShop or not. Visit ProShopERP.com/95. Again, that's ProShopERP/95 to get your copy today.
I love that 5 why process, because you often will get to something that is a much bigger picture than the thing that you originally started with, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I can remember doing that process and, ultimately deciding like, this customer is a terrible customer for us. We should fire them. Yeah. It's like, and that is actually the solution to our quality not being.
Oftentimes it is. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for sharing that. That was good and tactical. What are some of the biggest things you're dealing with today that you're trying to solve?
Finding machinists. So workforce development, which I know is on the tip of everyone's mind.
That's the number one thing.
It is. But as a company, we instead of just complaining about it, we're really trying to be intentional, being part of that solution. So we have partnered with a community organization, and this is my plug for them, called Capital Idea, which they community-based program that upskills manufacturing people who want to get into the manufacturing industry. We've also partnered with NTMA. They have an NTMA U, which creating an apprenticeship program. So starting starting next year, there's, I believe, 7 of us shops here in Houston that we're going to be bringing in an apprentice to work in the shop, in their own respective shops. And then they're actually we have a training center here at Gretna. So they're going to come here and learn more hands-on with an instructor through NTMA. So that's how we feel we can be part of the solution of the next generation. And just in general, just really reimagining manufacturing and being a woman in the industry. I try to talk about it as much as I can, getting more people excited about to understand it. I think a lot of people don't even know what machine shops are or what manufacturing really is. So just being an advocate for our industry and just saying, this is a great industry to be a part of. And so that's how we're really trying to be part of that solution. But hands down, finding labor, finding machinists, finding people who want to join, but who also the experienced ones who, especially with some of these more complicated parts. So it's the same thing. We're all of us in, hey, do you know of any machinists? So we've tried a couple different things to hire machinists, and it's tough. It's tough.
Well, good for you for collaborating with others in your area, leaning into that apprenticeship and NTMAU. I saw a bit of a snapshot of a sneak peek, I guess, of their new curriculum, their new interface. It's wonderful. It's really sharp.
It's important. It's important. And again, you can complain about it or you can actually be part of the solution. And I'm very proud of my fellow machine shops here in Houston that there's a number of us really trying to work together. And I think that that's the other great thing about having a strong culture and values is it kind of brushes away the competition. The thought of a competition is, hey, we're all different. I mean, how many of us have tried to be a Toyota and you can't. Right. You can't. Sure. Toyota's Toyota in terms of being lean and efficiencies, and because that's how strong their culture is. And I feel it's the same way that I want other shops to be successful. And sometimes we're going to compete, but most of the times we're going to be standing side by side. And I don't want to be the only shop in Houston. That would be awful. That would be terrible. Right. But to really build up that ecosystem here, at least in the Houston area, because it really is a very strong, there's a strong presence here that a lot of people even in Houston, may not even recognize.
Well, it's a great abundance mindset. So, we're going to ping you because we are going to be starting a series all about workforce development for making chips and highlighting pockets and shops and programs that are working well. So we may ping you yet to have you share about what you're doing there. I'd love for you to share, if you can, just a couple of really memorable experiences of leading this shop.
I love our 6 a.m. meetings. And I've done a couple LinkedIn videos on that. We started out 2 years ago. I just needed a space to talk about an audit that was happening or a supplier or a customer was coming. So 6 a.m. on Fridays just seemed right. So it started out as that a couple years ago. And then incorporating my love for health and wellness, we just started out of... I'd gone to Colombia, I think a couple of summers ago, and the construction workers were doing these exercises right before they started working. Like, this sounds awesome. Let's start doing this. So then it started evolving into just doing these movements and shaking our bodies and getting kind of ready for the day. And then our new quality director is a big fitness guy. So he started taking it on, and now we do... jumping jacks and high knees, and it's just been elevated. So it's pretty awesome just watching, 40-something employees, mostly machinists, doing jumping jacks and touching their toes. And I don't post all those videos, but it is by far the highlight of my week. So that's a very proud moment of just watching, and everyone's just laughing and just being ridiculous. And it's fun. It's fun. It's one of the very special moments that make us who we are. Yeah. So that would be one. And really just navigating these last 2.5, 3 years of finally building a very strong leadership team that I'm very, very proud of. But it has not been easy. There's been a lot of right people, wrong seat, wrong person, right seat kind of situations. And so now I'm excited I look forward to our level 10 meetings as a leadership team, because there's the level of communication and respect among all of us is just really, it just makes it fun. And when the stress comes that from the work and not the people. It just makes it a lot more manageable. That the issue and the problem isn't the person right in front of you. It's like, we're actually on the same side. The issue, the problem is X. Let's just join our forces and solve that. Not so much the going back and forth. It just doesn't make it for a fun work environment. So I'm very proud and excited about my team, and not just at the leadership level, but all the way down, the managers, the employees, everyone.
Well, I applaud you for focusing on that as a priority, and working through all the wrong decisions or the bad fits and getting to the place that you've gotten, because it is amazing when that's the case. And what you just said, we're all on the same team. We're just trying to, figure out the problem together. That's something my wife and I talk about.
Yeah, it's important.
when we're having our hard moments, right?
It's important. Like,
it is,
you're not the problem. The problem is this thing.
It's the work. It's
whatever
the work.
it is that you're trying to solve. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when everyone can anchor in that and really buy in and be totally on board and working together, that is a great feeling. Exactly. So I appreciate you sharing that. As we kind of, start to wrap up here, wanted to first maybe ask some of the best strategic moves you've ever made that you really think, I guess I can probably guess what you're going to say.
Oh, really?
But
well, help me out. Best strategic move.
Well, I'm guessing going to Visage and doing EOS were just huge for you.
Yes.
But, maybe beyond those things, or maybe those are the things. Yeah. What are the best things you've done to really just change the business, grow it, have it thrive?
I underestimated how much time I was going to spend internally in the self-reflection stuff, that as I take leadership extremely seriously. I'm always, reading the books and trying to be better. And I didn't appreciate how much time I was going to really ask myself those hard questions. Like, yeah, what kind of leader am I? Am I this kind of leader? Am I this? Am I this? Mm-hmm. And when I was going through that imposter syndrome, that's when I really questioned, like, do I start acting like my dad? Do I, I don't know, he was only other leader of this company. And I listened to, you mentioned masterclass. I listened to this masterclass of the founder of Liquid Death. I don't know if you ever, and he talks about his approach to his brand and how it came to be. And he said that he was like a skater kid in the 90s and reading Mad magazine. So that's how he came up with the image of Liquid Death. And he said, I started realizing that my brand had to be me, a lot of who I am as a person. And that was a pivotal moment for me as a leader, is I'm going to stop trying to be something I'm not. I'm not a machinist. I can appreciate, I can learn, I can be technical enough, but that's not who I am. I am someone who's getting her yoga certification. I am someone who leads, I value communication. I like giving speech. There's certain things about just me as a person. And that is what I've been trying to incorporate in my leadership style. And because that's who I am, I'd like to think that authenticity resounds with people. And that's what makes it nice when I look at, quote unquote, my competition. You be you, like, you be who you are. And if I can get you to do yoga, even better. We need more yogis in this world. So I think that was also a change for me, when these are, again, I go back to our culture. These are our values. This is who I am. This isn't the shop for everyone to work at. Not every customer is going to appreciate what we offer. And that's okay. That's up to my sales team to find customers who will appreciate that. And that's just been really nice, because I don't have FOMO. When I look at these other shops and what they're doing, if I see a company that does great medical work, I'm not like, oh, I know, great, let's get into medical. Like, that's not who we are. So we don't do plastics. So, and that's okay. Maybe one day we will, but not now. And it's just been able to relieve a lot of that anxiety of, and just so I can just focus on making Gretna the best it can be. And if I can inspire and learn from others and vice versa. And that's okay. And I think that's been a little, probably one of the, that wasn't a specific moment, but that has been a journey that I was not at that point 2.5 years ago.
That's a great answer. And does that help with the imposter syndrome when you're just really anchoring in who you are and your authentic self? Like
it does. And it's also, those deep breaths really do work. Podcasts, I've never even done it. This is one of my first few podcasts. I've never done this before. So even that, you just do it and hopefully it comes out well. But so much in life is just trying it and seeing if it sticks. And I'm sure there will be lessons learned from this. And I just try better next time. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. So yes, it has helped with the imposter syndrome. I would say that I am now fully embraced my title and my role. And it took me a while to get to this point, but I believe in first and foremost, this industry. And obviously I'm going to push for Houston since we're here. But as a company, I think hopefully we can do great things.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. Is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you were hoping we would cover? I know there's a long list of potential questions and we never get to all of them. But I've loved the flow of this conversation very much.
I don't think so. I've just in general, again, going back to this industry and what you've done, and your podcast has helped me tremendously in really learning about our industry outside of Houston, outside of what we do. I love hearing all the stories of other shops around the U.S. And you were one of the reasons why I dug a little deeper into LinkedIn and really connecting with other shops around the U.S., all of that. And it's all part of it. So I want to thank you and your team because it's definitely influenced and made an impact on my journey through this. So thank you.
Thank you for saying so. No, it's meaningful. I do this podcast because I feel like there are so many incredibly capable, smart, passionate people that, like yourself, whose voices need to be shared because you will inspire others. I know without a doubt you have done that today. So, so appreciate you contributing to it. And we're all in this together in the hardest industry in the world to, build a strong manufacturing economy here in our country. Right. And it's important. It's really important.
Truly. It is.
Really is. It is. Okay. So if people want to learn more about Gretna or connect with you, how would you direct them to do so?
So our LinkedIn page, Gretna Machine Shop, Inc. We're always posting, we're doing videos, and then our website, gretnamachine.com. And, or you can email me directly at nubia.perez@gretnamachine.com. It'd be great.
Okay. Well, thank you for, being so open and sharing with us. What a remarkable journey of the story of your business, and congratulations on taking that position and doing it the way you are doing it. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a true honor to be here. And I've listened to your podcast, and to be and put in the same bucket as a lot of your other guests is humbling. So thank you.
Well, I'm convinced you belong there. So thank you again. All right, Nubia. Well, this will come out, I think so. I don't know if you had heard this, but we just recently switched the show to be a weekly show.
Oh, wow.
Rather than a bi-weekly show, because I was booking into April of next year and recording into April. So, but still, your episode will come out, I believe, on February 4th.
Okay.
So we'll look forward to that day.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here. Appreciate you sharing with everybody.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Take care,
Nubia.